Isn't this scene a bit unusual? It doesn't feel right, especially when you are spontaneously watching the movie. Why? The reason is pretty simple. In movies, scenes are typically edited to maintain continuity and rhythm, sometimes even according to audience's focus, in order to hide the cuts and make the scene feel seamless. However, in Challengers, the editing, short framings, and shot choices consistently break this rule throughout the movie. In this particular scene, the first shot depicts Art hitting the ball towards Patrick. Next is a continuous insert shot of the ball hitting the net. However, the third shot shows Art hitting the ball towards Patrick again. This third shot breaks audience's expectations as we assume that the next shot will be of the ball on Art's side and then possibly a close-up of either of him or Patrick. Instead of maintaining continuity, this shot disrupts it, making the audience aware of the cut and thus drawing their attention.
And I think if somebody says, "Oh, well, that was a really great movie," that's what I want to hear. Not, "Oh, wasn't that a brilliant shot?" or "Wasn't that brilliant?" A brilliant camera move or brilliant photography. Because then I think really it's taking the audience out of the film. They've not really seen the film as a whole piece.
This is Roger Deakins, one of the greatest cinematographers of all time, stating that as a cinematographer, your job is not to capture beautiful shots that will stun the audience, as this makes them aware of the cinematography and takes them out of the story rather than immersing them in it. As a storyteller, you are helping the filmmaker tell the story. Similarly, the job of an editor, music composer, or designer is to contribute to the overall storytelling without making audiences aware of that particular aspect of filmmaking. Meanwhile, as we just discussed, the editing of Challengers totally contradicts this thinking, considering the consistency of the contradiction not just in the editing but also in the shot compositions and music, which we will discuss soon in the video. I assume it is a conscious creative choice rather than a mistake. Naturally, it is quite fascinating and exciting to think about why makers decided to go this way. This question lingered in my mind after my first watch that inspired me to make this video. Hence, I revisited the film to uncover these abnormal choices I witnessed. So this is going to be a fun video essay and I hope you watch it till end to holistically uncover the whole thing, and that will also help this video to reach a wider audience. This is a simultaneous scene to the previous one we discussed in the beginning of the video. In this scene, visual storytelling unfolds between Art, Tashi and Patrick. The movie captures the whole sequence by first introducing an electric soundtrack, creating a sense of rhythm. At the same time, the POV and over-the-shoulder shots of the characters are edited very abruptly. For instance, when Art loses the ball, we see a close-up of Patrick looking at Tashi. Then his perspective is portrayed from a slightly wide shot, with him obviously blurred in the foreground. This cuts to a shot of Art, then back to Patrick's perspective, then to Tashi's perspective. These fast cuts match the beats but constantly change angles drastically, making the audience aware of the cuts. This scene also transitions to the next scene similarly. Art is about to hit the ball and we expect a shot of Patrick next, but it directly cuts to 2 weeks earlier in a totally contrasting environment, disrupting the continuity and drawing the audience's attention. Then there is a very surreal moment in the movie where Tashi and Art are sitting in a quiet, empty room before the match. Even in this scene, there are rough cuts. For example, when Art looks at the window, it first shows his point of view, then abruptly cuts to his face as he turns towards the window, and then it cuts to the window itself. The window shot starts to slide down, serving as a POV shot, and then abruptly cuts to Art's face while in motion. Normally, Art's first POV shot would end on the window, then the shot of his face would arrive, serving as a reaction. But they shot two different shots, one of the POV and one of his reaction, and then intercut them in a way that disrupts the flow. Interestingly, even though this cutting disrupts the flow and makes the audience aware of the edits, it surprisingly serves to tell the story in a better way. As I mentioned earlier, this particular scene is quite surreal, or as they call it, Felinesque, The audience needs to pay attention to grasp what's really happening on the screen. They need to read between the lines to understand it, which they can't if they passively consume it. The movie demands their active engagement to translate the nuances of characterization and story. In this scene, Art looks at his hand, then at the window. Then he leans back to gaze at his photograph, which creates a certain shape of his face as the light illuminates it. He sees his photo with the trophy and then looks at the ticking clock. This scene is like an expression. Just as when we look at someone's expression, we all understand the fundamental emotion behind it, like agitation, sadness, or excitement. But what that particular expression evokes inside us differs slightly from the person next to you. We all interpret the expression similarly, but not exactly the same. We add something from our own life to it, which makes our interpretation a bit distinct from others. Similarly, the fundamental idea that this scene communicates is that Art feels it's time to move on and be free. His time has passed and he has achieved what he could. But when one sees this scene, it also evokes a certain feeling that the next person may not share. So the abrupt cutting disrupts the flow and makes the audience aware of the cut to get their attention, allowing them to witness this very special moment that is quite rare in movies nowadays. That's the reason why in Challengers, whenever an important moment arrives, we witness this particular technique at play. For instance, when Art tells Tashi that he is retiring, or in the final moments of the movie when Patrick tells Art that he slept with Tashi again. In this scene, we witness an abrupt cut just before a close-up of Art's face, where he smiles at Patrick as he used to in the old days. This close-up is a crucial moment in the movie that leads to the sequence where we see the match from the tennis ball's perspective. The tennis ball's POV shot serves to convey that Art and Patrick have finally found the connection they were looking for, which is the core intent of the whole climax scene and the point where the movie ends. To translate this idea of the bond that Art and Patrick form through the tennis match, it is crucial for the audience to see this particular close-up of Art's face, as it conveys what they used to be and lays the foundation for the upcoming events. Hence, the filmmaker can't risk the audience missing the close-up while passively watching. That's how the abrupt cut helps to capture the audience attention just before the pivotal moment. The two scenes that we discussed earlier have same intention, as those scenes are the opening moments of the movie where we don't know anything about the characters. What we see is a tennis match going on. Filmmaker at that juncture wants to tell you that it is not only the tennis, there is more to it. There is something interesting going on between the characters too. He wanted the audience attention at that point in order to create an underlying tension and mystery. And it is not only the editing, the innovative shot choices, and even the framing and composition in seemingly normal shots are done in a way that attracts the audience attention and sometimes defies their expectations. For instance, when the movie starts, we see these wide establishing shots of the tennis ground. These shots are consistently framed in a bit unusual way. All the shots are tilted and asymmetrical, introducing a sense of imbalance, which is reflective of the complex drama between the characters. The visual imbalance feels like a metaphor for the emotional and psychological states of the characters, as it keeps the audience subconsciously aware of the underlying tension and complexity of the narrative. Though the most blunt example is obviously the climax scene, where you see shots from below the ground, direct POV shots of characters hitting the ball, and even the ball's POV. These are not subtle choices by any means. Even the most passive viewer would notice them. I think that's the intention, especially when you consider the incorporation of loud music in these shots. The music in the movie also serves a similar purpose. While it is used thematically, it is not subtle in the least. It is pretty evident when it comes. The electric soundtrack that we hear on the several occasions is often used to capture the character's aggression during such moments. We witness this soundtrack both times when Tashi is introduced, as her character is dominant and aggressive in the movie. It also plays during Tashi and Patrick's argument, as well as when the two make out in Atlanta. The first time, Art speaks up to Patrick, asserting his dominance. The camera angles also suggest the same power dynamics. And this is the first time we hear this soundtrack during Art and Patrick's conversation. The track reappears when Patrick tells Art that he slept with Tashi, causing Art to become furious as they play aggressively. Meanwhile, the piano track that evokes restlessness and ambiguity comes when the three are talking at the beach while Patrick and Art compete for Tashi. This track also plays when Tashi meets Patrick and he tries to persuade her to be his coach, remarking that he is going to beat Art. It continues into the Atlanta sequence, showing that the competition is still ongoing. The beach sequence is still in play. In a nutshell, Challengers stands out not only for its story but also for its bold and unconventional thematic choices. The editing, shot compositions, and music all work together to create a film that demands active engagement from its audience. These elements, though jarring at times, are deliberately designed to break continuity and draw viewers into the emotional and psychological landscapes of the characters. By defying expectations and making us aware of the filmmaking process, Challengers offers a fresh and compelling approach to storytelling. So thanks for watching this video. I hope it has provided you with a deeper understanding of the film's creative choices and its impact. And if you enjoy this analysis, then like, share and subscribe to help me grow this channel. And also feel free to write your thoughts in the comment section. I would love to hear your perspective on Challengers. Until next time then, have a nice day.